This is the layer we were encountering. Hard soil, soils like caliche, compacted soil, hardpan in soil makes trees difficult to grow. Today we're going to show you several ways of dealing with those problems. I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's Corporation. We're using our products on this bad soil to plant 2 replacement Platanus racemosa. Platanus racemosa is California sycamore. You can see they lined their driveway with them. They have lights in them. It makes kind of a grand entrance. And on one side here, the soil seems particularly bad. Several of the trees aren't doing well, and 2 of them completely died. We have some of the characteristics of caliche soil, except we don't have alkalinity, which is a real problem with caliche soil, where you have to lower the pH before you can get anything to change. Here, our pH is pretty normal, so we're a little ahead there. Since the soil was so hard and we have a lot of space here, we brought our mini excavator, which you can see here. We have a big auger on our Bobcat that we could use also, but an auger isn't as good as if you could dig the hole with a mini excavator and dig it way bigger than you need and dig it unevenly. An auger, in hard conditions, it creates this kind of glazed soil that's like burnished, and that is difficult for tree roots to get through that and go into the native soil, and that's what we want to happen. Whereas if you contrast that in your mind to digging it with jagged, irregular shapes and dig it really wide and go through the hardpan layer with this mini excavator, and we got into different kinds of soil. So we have a completely better situation now than how the previous trees were planted. On each tree, how big were the holes that we ended up with?
I had around 4 feet wide and about 10.
About 10 feet long.
Yeah.
So that's a good size. They were just very irregular, right? Kind of rough edges and which
As you're scraping down, the excavator is gonna find spots that are softer. So it's like you're not gonna go just straight down. It's gonna start moving everywhere as it's breaking down the soil.
Many of you don't have an opportunity to pull up a mini excavator on your property. You could use a small jackhammer to do the same thing, although it's not fun work. You can hire somebody with an auger and try to drill more than 1 hole, but even that takes access of equipment. See,
that's more like it.
yeah, this is the layer we were encountering. I'm hitting it about as hard as I can, and this is not good to grow plants in, not good for water penetration. At what depth did you hit really hard soil that we might call hardpan or really compacted soil?
About 1.5 feet from top of the grade.
Okay.
That's when I started hitting the hardpan.
Do you think it was just compacted hard clay soil, or do you think it was more like concrete?
More like concrete.
Okay. And so then how did you break it up with the mini excavator?
Scraping over it, over and over. It was really time consuming.
So 1 hole took you how long?
I want to say roughly about 6 hours.
1.5 feet, you hit hard soil. It's about 3 feet deep. You finally get through it. What's under that?
I started finding a different type of sand, like white kind of sand, and then I hit the sand.
Oh, so the white sand that didn't seem quite like 100% sand was at what, 5 feet, 6 feet?
No, it was about 7 and a half.
7.5 feet. You went all the way down to about 10 feet.
10, yeah.
And then
Probably past 10 feet.
And at just a little past 10 feet is where you hit real sand?
Yeah, real sand.
And so that's how we know now we're into an area where that water will drain good. And that's really our goal. See, I did break it. So that's what pretty much the hard layer that we got through. A lot of times these layers are only a foot or so, jackhammer goes pretty fast, but in this case, if you have 5 feet of this, it takes a while even with a big mini excavator. And then we used that native soil, the broken up rock and all of that, and we mixed in a lot of our blend, and then we put penetrate liquid biotiller on the top. We'll recommend that he continue to do that, and we're trying to create an environment with lots of microbiology, get these roots to spread out. We chose in this case not to use any other material when we backfilled the holes. We just used our products and the native soil, because we don't want to create a completely different soil texture in this hole. We want it to be kind of like the native soil. If you use a lot of amendment like peat moss or something, and you completely change everything about where the tree is planted, not only water has a hard time getting out of that, but also roots have a hard time getting out of there because they just stay in the improved soil, and that's not what we want. We want the roots to branch out into the native soil. The type of material we found, we broke this up most of the time into smaller pieces. Oh, well, so this is not hardpan, this is just hard compacted soil. But this we went through with the mini excavator, broke it up. You can see water would impact this. You can test the hole, and maybe you can determine that, like that material I just had in my hand, if that was the worst we encountered, then I'd feel comfortable just digging a good sized hole by hand, using water to make sure we had penetration, and then use our products to change everything about that soil over time. Our blend and our penetrate liquid biotiller can change hard compacted layers like that, as long as you give it a good start, dig a good sized hole, maybe twice the size of the root ball, not necessarily deeper than the root ball unless the layer there is real hard. We don't want to set the tree on something real hard. We want to break that up some. Toby is here because he thought Chip was here. He came out to see Chip, but Chip isn't here this morning. He's walking with my wife. You know, Chip is such a remarkable dog that to replace him, we had to get 3 dogs. Toby's one of them. We forgot this little guy's name, and then we have Sesame. Toby, welcome. You can stand right by me here. Manuel and Jose are going to show you how they're going to stake this, and then they're also going to show you how they're going to slightly bury the drip system so that we don't get squirrels and stuff eating them. They'll do away with the basins because we're having relatively cool weather and we're in late October now, so we don't need the basins right after planting. The owners already had drip irrigation, so we used a double ring of drip irrigation. You'll see the tubing has emitters in it. We put one ring right over the root ball, the existing root ball, and then we made a bigger ring out a little farther out for as it starts to root. Once these start to grow, we might choose to put a 3rd ring. We have to stake the trees. In this case, you can see they both have a lodgepole pine tied to the trunk. That isn't good to leave it on there. If the tree is strong enough, which we believe these 2 are, we're going to take that stake off because we want the tree to move in the wind. If the tree can move in the wind, it develops tensile strength in its trunk, and after a year or 2, you should be able to remove all kinds of staking. We're going to put the stakes perpendicular to the wind direction. So when the wind blows, the wind doesn't blow into the stake, the wind blows into the tree trunk moves a little, and that allows the tree trunk to get stronger, get wider at the bottom, and be able to stand alone over time. To do that, you need to determine what you think is the prevailing wind direction. In our area here, our prevailing wind goes out of the northwest into the southeast, so we'll put our stakes perpendicular to that. So hopefully this was informational for you. If so, please like it and subscribe, and encourage all your friends and relatives to subscribe. We've got a couple other videos that talk about tree planting also, but this one was interesting to us because of the challenge of the hardpan layer.